All right. Good evening, everybody. Like I said, tonight we've got a lot to cover tonight. So we're going to try to get going and get moving as quickly as we can because we got a lot to get through. So if you can go ahead and click on, let me make sure I got my stuff on here tonight. There we go. All right. So tonight, as you can see, this is just one chapter. There's a lot. Okay, that's one chapter. So we have a lot to cover tonight. What I was thinking was Travis was maybe want to keep Saturday and Sunday, but
I'm not available.
but we're gonna get through it all. We'll get through as quick as we can. The main point that I really want to focus on in this chapter is more based upon your job, if that makes sense. Now, of course, Miss Linda, we've talked about this before. All contracts are between who and who?
The agent and the client.
And the principal.
And yes.
And the agent and the principal. And the agent is Miss Linda, and then Miss Davenport's the principal, right? Because you're the agent, so that's how this works, right?
What?
I said the agent is the one that's making the contract, right? Not the broker, just the agent.
Right. The agent is doing the paperwork, but the broker is.
But who's the contract between?
The broker and that.
The who? So
Seller.
the principal.
Principal.
You're getting that word,
Principal.
Okay. So again, we're going to talk about those. So we're going to go on and start off right here. Now, majority of the slides you're going to see tonight are just going to be the sample of what the agreements look like. Now, we're not going into that simply because the fact is your brokerage will have a certain way in regards to how they want to do their independent contractor agreements. Some brokerages don't even use the forms that are on here. They have their attorneys draft a form up, okay? So this is just basically, we're just going to talk about them so you have an idea of what it looks like, but the broker, the individual broker, makes their own decision. So again, the first agency relationships for new licensees are going to be between them and their broker. Now, what we're talking from this aspect is this. Is say Miss Linda or Mr. Eugene or Miss Davenport, you decide to come on with me. This is the only time that there's a relationship between you as an agent and the broker. That's when a client's not involved, okay? So like with Mr. Travis, me and Mr. Travis, we have an independent contractor agreement. He is an independent contractor. He is in agreement with me. He can do certain things on my behalf. And in exchange for him doing those services, he gets compensated, okay? But it's on a commission-based structure. And that's how 95% of all real estate companies run. They do not charge an hourly rate. You get paid commission. However, Mr. Travis, real quick question. You worked a job, and then you came on and you started working with me. And your first commission check, what did your wife figure out just from your first commission check? How much work was that if you would have continued that job?
It was, I want to say it was like 58 weeks of pay at my old job. So it was about a year and a month.
So in a year and a month, he made about how many months, would you say, with that transaction?
13 or 14 months.
There you go. So in that situation, what happens is you may not make, like I tell people all the time, you may not make a sale in 1 or 2 months, but guess what happens? Then you make a sale and you're set for a year, okay? So in that situation is understand that as you're going through this, you're going to have to keep that in the back of your mind. You can't think like the normal 8 to 5 job. You got to think of it as I'm a commission-based individual, thus I have a chance to make a lot more money than I would if I was an independent or if I was an 8 to 5 job. Okay. So again, it's the agency relationship between the new licensees that are between them and their broker. There is the TAR independent contractor agreement. We'll be discussing that, but it's figure 9.1. And again, it identifies the rights and responsibilities for each party. And of course, like I said, I'm not going to go through this verbatim. Okay, we have a lot to cover. But again, this gives you the breakdown of the independent contract. This is what it looks like. Okay, so exactly as you see through here, this is what your independent contractor agreement looks like. And again, we're not going to spend a lot of time through this simply because the fact is that not every brokerage utilizes that form. So I'd hate to sit here and go through that form and then Ms. Davenport decides I'm going to go to Keller Williams and Keller Williams says, no, we don't use that form, Ms. Davenport. We have an independent form. So I don't spend a lot of time. I just want you to kind of have an idea of what it looks like. Okay. So the key things though that we want to focus on tonight is actually on the laws. Okay. So the difference between hiring an employee and sponsoring a salesperson who works as an independent contractor. So like Travis and Mr. Grossman here, they are independent contractors. They do not they don't get hourly wages. They do not get benefits. They are technically their own boss. Now, of course, they have to follow the broker, the guidelines of the broker. But as long as, for example, if you're an employee, say Mr. Eugene, it's your job, your boss, he can come out and say, you need to be at work at 6 in the morning to 6 at night, and you're going to do X, Y, and Z, and this is what you need to do every 30 minutes of your job, the whole time you're there. He can dictate what you do, okay? As an independent contractor, all I can do is this, is I can say to Mr. Travis or to Mr. Grossman, Mr. Travis, you have, if you get a transaction, you need to let Miss Linda know within 3 days of you getting it. If Miss Linda requests any documents from you, you have 3 days to get it to her. I cannot tell, though, Mr. Travis, that Mr. Travis, you have to be in this office 8 to 5, Monday through Friday, and when you're in this office, you got to be cold calling in it, because at that point, if I'm dictating, he's an employee. He's not an independent contractor. However, I can, as a broker, I can say, if I wanted to get this step, I could say, okay, Mr. Grossman, you're an independent contractor, and coming on with my firm, it is expected that you have to do 40 hours within our office. Okay, 40 hours in the office a week. Now, our office hours are Monday through Friday, but again, it's up to you and how you want to end up showing up. Again, that's for some brokers that are extremely strict. You don't have to have it, sir. Sweet, right? we all talked about it. So, but again, in this situation, we've been checking everybody, so we're good. We don't have any problems. But again, the key thing in this situation is that, like I said, we want to make certain that you know the difference. Okay, now you will have some brokerages. I've heard of some brokerages that will say in there, and that's why I didn't want to spend a lot of time on this form coming into this. Okay, you see how there's a bunch of blanks? That's why a lot of times what happens is the brokerages will just have a lawyer drafted up. So there's not a ton of blanks. But there are some brokers that actually tell their agents, you have to be full-time. You have to be a full-time agent. And they expect, while they cannot tell you what hours to come in, they will say our office is open at 8 a.m. until 6 p.m., Monday through Friday. And Mr. Cody, you have to work 40 hours a week and only during our office hours. Well, in that situation is, I could dictate if I wanted to that requirement, okay? However, if I do that, if I do dictate that requirement, what's the problem? I have that chance of what could happen, Travis, if I make it that concise. What could the IRS or the government possibly come in and say?
That you're employing them.
I'm employing them. So in that situation, you can, and this was one thing that even my attorneys have said, I can go in and say that I require all agents to be in office 20 hours a week. However, I cannot tell you when to come in. I can't say, you know, Travis, 20 hours a week and you got to be here Monday through Wednesday. I can't do that. But I can say Travis has to end up, or any agent has to end up 20 hours a week. Now, that's another thing. I'm glad that too, Travis. I cannot say, Travis, you have to be here 20 hours a week, but not tell Stephen that. It has to be across the board for everybody. So if you implement that, you have to put it in place for everyone. You can't pick out one person and solely pick on that person, okay? But again, the employment law, you need to know this because there are even some employers, it's another thing. And one of the key things that brokerages do, mandatory meetings. I can have mandatory meetings. However, I cannot require that you be at all 12 of them. There's 12 a month, or one a month, 12 times, it's 12 months. I cannot mandate that you have to be at every one, but I can put a stipulation in that does this. If you miss 3 consecutive meetings, then you can be terminated. Okay? That encourages you to do what? To be in it. So in that situation is, say that Mr. Cody, he's with me and he comes to January, February meeting, then he misses March, April. Well, he's better be in May's meeting, because if not, what happens, Cody? You're gone. Okay? So in that situation is, you do have that. Now that comes back to that same situation. Is if I go in, Miss Linda, can I say, oh, well, Cody, you can miss May too. It's no big deal. You just come back next time. Can I do that?
No.
No, because what happens? It's got to stay consistent across the board. Because if I do that for Cody, then what do I got to do with Miss Davenport? That's right. Okay. So you have to be very strict on these. But again, it gives you the degree of control that helps make the distinction between an employee and an independent contractor. Again, the 3 things that they look at when the IRS comes into it is behavioral control. That's that thing, Mr. Eugene, where your boss tells you what you have to do. That's behavioral control. They're telling you how to do your job. Financial control. How exactly is the individual paid? Are you paid hourly, or are you paid by commission? Okay. And what's the type of relationship? How is the relationship handled? Okay. You have to be very careful in these situations. And that's more from the broker standpoint than the agent. But I teach this about agency because the fact is while I follow the rules as strictly as I can, there are other companies that will end up, they love to lure this. This is how they justify it. Well, Travis, we have what do you call that? Floor time. We have floor time in our office. And we would love for you to sign up for floor time. And what that is you come in and you have to sign up for 4 hours. You can't sign up for 1, 2. They go on 4-hour increments. So what happens is they do a chart and they say, okay, everybody, I'm putting the chart up here on this board, and everybody that wants floor time, you better run up here and fill in your spot before somebody else gets it. So Miss Davenport comes up, she fills in 4 hours. Okay. Well, here's the thing. That's legal. You can do floor time. However, this is where you got to be careful. Miss Davenport signs up for floor time, and then Miss Linda goes over and says, oh, well, since you're here, Miss Davenport, can you go run errands for me and go make copies for me and go do this for me and that? Now what's happening, Mr. Stahl?
You're giving them specific instructions.
You're giving her instructions, so now what is she?
An employee.
She's an employee. Versus if she is just in the office answering the phones for 4 times to generate lead, guess what? That's okay. But she cannot be the one that's running errands and all of that, because that's not the reason or the purpose of it. So you got to be very careful in this, because if the IRS finds out that you're doing that, then the IRS calls Miss Linda and Mr. Justin and says, y'all been using Miss Davenport for 6 months, and now you got to owe taxes for her. So you got to pay her wages, her wage tax. Okay? So in those situations you got to be very careful. So again, employment contracts with consumers, however, this is different. The one previously, the independent contractor, was with the broker and the agent. The employment contract with the consumer is going to be the listing or buyer representation, or the property management agreement. Okay? So these are your contracts with your consumer. Now, there are, of course, financial duties that do come into these situations. Again, from the broker and the principal, we're talking about the consumer. The broker and the principal is that they are going to agree maybe to pay brokerage expenses. When I got out and was doing real estate myself a lot, I got tired of listing properties and do all this work and spend all my money only for Miss Linda to do what? Pull the listing, because she wanted to go sell it herself. And I just dropped probably $500 in photos and drone footage and marketing and all that. And then Miss Linda decided, yeah, I'm not going to worry about that. So she pulls it. Well, I want to be reimbursed for any expenses that I've incurred. Okay? There also is income tax, okay? Any income tax from compensation received. If there's anything to that nature, both parties have duties, okay? You have to, and a lot of people don't think of this, you have to pay tax on your commission, okay? Under the new rules, your broker, starting this year, I used disbursement forms. I love them to death because of the fact is, the money goes how quickly to your account, Travis, after you do a closing?
Immediately.
Immediately. Money goes in his account. Beginning this year, guess what I got to now start doing? I, as a broker, have to issue 1099s for all monies, even if they don't touch my account. See, my whole thing was I was like, well, if it doesn't touch my account, I don't have to report it. It's on Travis to pay his, and Stephen and everybody else. Well, now, Miss Linda, guess what? Starting this year, we have to keep a report, because at the end of the year, we have to send those 1099 reports out.
Thanks, Linda. That makes it easier on me, so I appreciate you doing that.
Yep. So you get more work on there, by the way.
So you're telling me that anybody, like Travis has a
Well,
closing,
he's got one tomorrow.
and he's got one tomorrow, I have to keep
We
all
have
of
to keep a report of the total amount that came into the brokerage. And then we have to show, even though we'll never touch the money he gets or Travis or anybody else, even though it never comes in our account, we still have to keep a collection of it and send a 1099 at the end of the year. Yes, ma'am. So,
Somebody at the government don't have enough things to do.
well, they got to charge some more stuff, Miss Nobles.
No, Let's just keep on
I don't know
going.
why y'all are complaining. That makes it so much easier on me. Y'all do all
That's right. It makes it easy on my
Do
agents,
you-
Miss Nobles.
Do you realize how much paper pushing I do already?
Hey, while you're at it, Travis,
What's an
can you
extra couple paper?
could you call the IRS and ask for about 50 more papers for her to
Yeah,
do?
no
Okay,
worries.
perfect.
She does so much, I don't see what a couple papers extra has.
Yeah.
That seems like no big deal for you.
Cody's just sitting there quiet as a mouse.
Tell you you're supposed to be helping me here.
Just observing.
He's observing. But yes, you do. Your broker at the end of the year is going to issue you a 1099, and that's on any monies. That's on if you do broker price opinions, you do not CMAs, you do broker price opinions. You end up doing what else is it?
Lease?
Leases. You do property management. You do any type of real estate collection. That money gets taxable. It is taxable. Okay. Now, also, the requirements for the recovery of a commission. Here are your three parts here. In order for there to be recovery of commission, the duly licensed at the same time of service began. So here's the kicker, guys and gals, and I'm telling you this, if you are or not going to stay in real estate. So say, for example, Cody gets his real estate license today, and he's representing Mr. Garrett, okay? So you're representing Mr. Garrett, and you end up halfway through the transaction, your real estate license lapsed because you didn't do your education courses. Now, are you entitled to a commission, Mr. Cody? No, but you get it. But it only lapsed for one day.
It's still lapsed.
It still lapsed, and because it lapsed, you are not duly licensed through the entirety of the commission or the transaction, so you are not entitled to a commission. Okay. Now, again, that's up to the broker if they want to pay you. But there can be some brokers here that if you're lapsed, they won't pay you. You let your license lapse, we ain't paying you. Yes, Ms. Linda.
Okay, I'm a little confused here because of the fact when you're saying time has lapsed and your license are not active or whatever I guess you could call it. So are you saying for like if he had a transaction and he was fixing to close, he would not be able to get that commission? Or is it for the entire year?
No, just for that one transaction.
Just for the
So
transaction?
if he has 10 transactions going and he lapses for one day, he's not entitled to commission in all of those 10 transactions.
That's occurs in that one day.
Well, for any time frame that's within it. What I'm saying is he's got 10 transactions going right now, we'll say. And his license all of a sudden tomorrow goes inactive because he didn't do his continuing ed.
I wouldn't get any of the commission
He gets
from those
from those 10.
after my license
Lapsed.
expires. Like from the day my license expired, I wouldn't get any commission for my closings.
For any of those transactions.
lapsing.
Once it
Expired.
got going.
Once it lapses, here's the thing. If any of my agents, their license lapse,
Yeah, no, it's called.
I have to end up, say Cody's did lapse, say his license lapsed. I have to, by law, I have to take those 10 transactions and put them to another agent that's active.
So he will lose those transactions?
He could most likely lose all of those transactions.
And
How
it's just
long
one,
the,
it's just
license
one
good
transaction.
Your license are good for 2 years, every 2 years. But see, this is what real estate always do, Miss Davenport, because I know I won't have problems with you or my people that are more mature. I don't ever have problems with because they get their stuff done. It's the younger ones. They delay, and then next thing you know, their license is due. Say Stefan's license expires at the end of March. Now Stefan's like, oh crap, it's halfway through February. I guess I'll start studying now to get my classes. Well, Mr. Grossman, you've done plenty of those. How long does it take you to do your real estate continuing ed? Is it just an hour, 2 hours you be done?
No, it's probably take you about a week.
A week. And then after that week, then the person that's doing the training has sometimes 2 weeks to report it to track. So in that situation is, you can't wait to the last moment. I've had agents before that they had transactions going and they forgot to do their stuff, or they started it a week before their deadline. They're like, I'll have it done at the end. Well, you may be done, but you still got to get that company to report it. So very important in that situation. But you have to be duly licensed at the time of service, okay? And be licensed all the way through the transaction. So not only licensed in the beginning, but all the way through, okay? Written and signed compensation agreement. There has to be a listing agreement. This is where you make your mistakes. People don't get their buyer representation agreement because this is how people look at it. This is how they look at it. Mr. Cody, you got your real estate license. You just got it today. Congratulations, we'll say, okay? He got his real estate license, we'll say. So Cody's now a real estate agent. So he goes out and he's like, well, he talks to Travis and he says, Travis, do I really need to get a buyer rep? I mean, the seller's going to end up paying me. I don't need no buyer's agreement. So Travis is like, no, you don't need it. I don't ever get them. You know, no big deal. So Cody, you represent Stefan up here in the transaction, and halfway through the transaction, guess what happens? Mr. Stefan refuses to pay you. Well, your only course of action is to go after who? The buyer. Well, if you don't have a buyer's rep, can you go after them? No. So you're truly SOL. And guys and gals, I've been there before. I thought it myself. I'm telling you things that I've even thought. Well, the seller's going to pay me, so I don't need the form.
No.
Go out there, go do all the work, get them in a house, and I'll find out the seller's not paying me because I didn't read it right, and I can't go after nobody. So I did all that work for nothing. Okay. Also, the buyer has to be advised to check title. Okay. These are your 3 requirements. Now, there also was a court case that the term sheet did not, however, need to be part of the written agreement. You don't have to actually break down the terms for it to be part of the written agreement. Now, the general guidelines is that the sponsoring broker, the AKA principal broker, that would be me in this situation, they may also be a business entity. Okay? So a broker is going to be someone that sponsors. So like right when I first started my brokerage, I started off Nobles Realty Group, but we weren't an LLC, we're a DBA. So everybody was sponsored under Justin Nobles. Well, as long as I'm a DBA, what does that mean, Mr. Travis? All liability goes on who? You. Me, personally, not business, personally. Now, Ms. Davenport, how do you feel about everybody being under you, and if anybody makes a mistake, they take all your personal assets from you? You like that? Want to lose your house for it? No. No. So in this situation is, while I initially was a sponsoring broker, I eventually changed and started a limited liability company. And that's where Nobles Realty Group LLC came out. Okay. So you can be sponsored, and all of my agents are sponsored technically by a corporation, by a company. They're not sponsored by Justin O's. That's why whenever I get people and new agents that start, they start filling out the contract and they put Justin Nobles, I'm like, nope, that's incorrect. It's Nobles Realty Group LLC. I am not technically your broker. I am the operating person of the business sponsors you. Okay? So the broker, again, can be a business entity, and the business entity can have managing officers. However, they must be licensed as an individual officer. A managing officer, one of them must be a broker. One. So in my LLC, we have 3 managing officers. Guess who they are? Myself,
Stephen.
my parent, or my mom, and my dad. That's my managing partners. Now, Mr. Travis, how many of them are a broker?
You.
1. So just me. So in that situation is that I am the individual broker and I'm able to make the decisions.
That's right.
So in this situation is that my parents are the managers. Okay. However, Mr. Travis, can my family make decisions that require, say, my dad? Can he come in and tell you how to work a contract right now?
No.
Why can't he?
He's not a broker.
He's not a broker. He is not a broker. He can only deal with the business part of the business, but he cannot deal with the brokerage part, if that makes sense. So I could say today, Ms. Davenport, you come on in, you're a managing person. Ms. Davenport can come in and make executive decisions for the business, but she cannot tell my agents how to handle things that require a license. See how that works? That's kind of why Miss Linda, she comes in, she's the office manager. I let her deal with that crap, with the business stuff, okay?
Oh, crap.
So I can deal with the more important things.
She bossing you around though.
Me too.
Stop there.
Me too. But again, these are the key things is yes, you can end up having those situations. Because truthfully, the whole point of this whole business stuff was the whole point that a broker cannot do it all. It's too much. If I have to, and I've done it for about 2 years, I did it, where if I'm running the business and trying to help my agents, what's the problem?
You're gonna screw up.
It's a what? Stephen, you were with me the whole time. How was it before Miss Linda?
It was a nightmare.
It's a nightmare.
She can let his head cut off.
Exactly. An agent needed me. Oh, hold on. I gotta go do these QuickBook things real quick. Right? Oh, hold on. I gotta go do this. I couldn't focus on the business. So the reason they allowed these corporations was so that the managers could come in, and you could, if I wanted to. If my dad was a CPA, I could say, okay, Mr. Eugene, all accounting stuff is on you. You're going to handle the books. Miss Linda, you're going to handle all of the administrative work, and I'm just going to focus on my agents. Okay? And then in that situation, yeah, we could break this up. But again, here's the thing, is what happens, God forbid, something happens to me. Now what happens?
I always have to get a license.
Well, it's too late by then. Because at that point, what happens to the firm? It falls apart. I had a student one semester that his dad was the broker. His wife was a CPA. So his dad was broker, wife was CPA, and his son was working to get his real estate license. And his dad ended up had a fishing accident and got killed, died. So guess what had to happen? Before they terminated it, they had to get, thankfully, one of their very good family friends was a broker. And he came in and filled in while this student of mine is working to get his brokerage. And once he gets his brokerage, that family friend's going to step down and go and continue his own business. But again, not a smart move. You want to kind of have somebody to take the next ranks, if that makes sense. Okay? Always have a designated survivor. Yes, sir. Now, there is this theory that's very important in employment law, and it's called respondent superior. Okay? And what it basically says is let the master answer. It's a legal term. And what that basically means is, guess what? Cody, what does this read from here to here for me? Read that to that for me.
Broker is liable to commission the public and broker's clients involving conduct with the broker or licensees associated with the broker.
So that means that you're responsible as an agent, not me, right? Backwards? You mean I have to be responsible for your actions?
According to the law.
According to the law, exactly. I am liable for anything that my agents do. They're going to come after me. However, what did we just talk about earlier? What is you sign as an agent when you come on with me? An independent contractor agreement. So while they're going to come after me, what am I going to then do? Turn around and sue you for breaching your independent contractor agreement. The reason they do that is because it's simple. It's simple to find the broker and get the broker, and then let the broker deal with all the little crap underneath it. You see what I'm saying? So the broker is responsible for all commissions, the public, and the broker's clients. Now, do you see anywhere up here talking about customers? It would be the public. It would be. But again, for the test purposes, they don't say customers. Sometimes they'll put in their broker's customers. No. That'd be the public. It's broker's clients. Okay? Involving the conduct of the broker or licensee as well associated with the broker. The designated broker of the business entity held liable for the business entity. So, Ms. Davenport, I'm going to ask you a little trick question here, ma'am. Okay, Miss Linda can help you out because she probably wouldn't know this either. So I'm going to test y'all out.
Like these OGs.
All right, Miss Linda and Miss Davenport, Mr. Travis and Mr. Stephan, magically right now, I christen the brokers right now.
Oh, sweet.
Y'all are now brokers.
I'm in
Fine,
trouble
Work for me now,
already.
Linda.
I'm in
Okay.
trouble.
You're fired, Jesse.
So in this situation,
I'm fired.
here we go.
Okay, I can leave. Right?
Here we go. So now Travis and Travis and Stephan have just become brokers, just right now. Can Travis and Stephan still work for my brokerage since I'm the designated broker?
Yes, you can.
Do you want to trust them? They've been messing with y'all lately. Do you want to trust them?
You cannot, no. One.
If you, so
Hold on. Y'all say no?
Miss Davenport? Yes?
She's saying yes, Miss Linda.
I'm gonna say no.
Mr. Eugene, let's throw you in here. What do you think?
Sure.
You say yes. Mr. Cody, say what you're trying to say.
they can be
They can be, but what are they called? Do you remember?
associated brokers.
They are a broker associate. Okay?
Okay, I
Hold
go
on,
with
hold on.
Cody.
However, this is key here. However, they are a broker associate. However, in this key situation, you have to understand is they will not, Travis and Stephan will not show up on Trek under my license.
Because you're operating as a sole proprietor.
Well, no. Only a brokerage can sponsor a what? A sales agent. So a broker can only sponsor a sales agent. Can a broker sponsor a broker?
No.
No. So in that situation is Travis and Stephan are independent, thus they are what? They are on their own. They just signed an agreement to be part of my brokerage.
Yeah, but if they look up our name, they'll still come up with us as brokers, not just.
Right, it'll say Stephan Grossman, but it's not going to say Nobles Realty Group, Stephan Grossman.
Right.
It's just going to say Stephan Grossman, broker.
So what's the answer is a yes or
So the
no?
question is, yes, they can. They're just not going to be sponsored by me, if that makes sense. It's kind of like attorneys. Multiple attorneys can be together, but they don't sponsor each other. They just work together. That's what it is they are an associate. However, all business entities have to have a designated broker. So I can be the designated broker for Nobles Realty Group, Bryan College Station, and guess what? Travis could be the designated broker associate for Nobles Realty Group,
In
Houston,
area.
Texas.
And that's how you can have different.
And that's how you
firms.
can have different, that's how Keller Williams does. They have LLC set up, and then a broker becomes a designated broker for that branch, and they'll have Keller Williams. But you can have multiple ones, but what happens is me and Mr. Travis have come to an agreement in that particular hypothetical, that he would run the Houston office because I don't have time to do it.
And I could still, even if we didn't start another office, like I could still work in this office as long as we signed an agreement that said, like, I mean, whatever the agreement will be. But yeah, I wouldn't work for Nobles Realty Group, but I could still come into this office and work and be part of the team.
Did you say that you're part of Nobles Realty Group? Like if you're calling that?
Well, let's throw this in, because see, this is where this chapter takes a lot, because a lot of people have questions on this. Travis right now can do this, Miss Linda. Let's just put it this way. Travis right now can start, even if I talk about your.
Yeah, go for it.
Okay. Travis, once you reach, in my office, once you reach 5 transactions, and I feel you're competent enough that you're dealing with it, I let you start your own brand if you want. Okay? It's just like what every other brokerage does. But I want to make certain that your first 5, that they're what? That you know what you're doing, that you got it. But Travis can start like he's doing, he's working on it right now, is T-Rex Realty. So what he's wanting. When he hits his 5 transactions, he can run it, and he can go out and do T-Rex Realty, and he can have underneath him, say, Cody and Miss Davenport and Stephen want to go under his team. Okay? He can do that. And he can go open an office, T-Rex Realty in Houston today, and he can go set it up, make it all look nice and everything. And the only thing he has to do is his largest logo or font, my logo or my wording has to be half his size. And he can go out, he can start a deal, and he can be a team lead right now. He can actually run his own team. And in that particular situation he's not a designated brokerage of a business, but he is a team lead. Okay, so I could, if I want to, I could tell Darren. Darren gets his license, Heather has hers, and I could tell Darren, I could say, okay, Darren, Heather, start up in Huntsville, y'all's own little group, okay, and start marketing yourselves. And I could charge them a fee for it, and I can do this too. I can even, Travis as well, I can set up an additional LLC where I can even set it up to a point, and this is where brokerages, this is where the 100-0 split comes in, but it's an arm and a leg, okay? I can, as a broker, say Darren and Heather, say, you know what, we want to start Darren and Heather's Realty Group, okay? But they have to be sponsored by Justin. They have to be sponsored by me. So I say, certainly, let's do it. But they want me to have nothing to do with splits. They just want to pay me a monthly price. So Darren says, Justin, what can we come to an agreement on? And I may say something to the extent of, you know, Darren, Heather, if y'all pay me $3,000 a month or $2,500 a month or something like that, I'll create an LLC. I'll be the broker on that LLC, but you own it and you run it. So you can actually truthfully run it like it's your own brokerage. Okay?
But you would technically be the sponsor.
But I'm the sponsor on that brokerage. However, I have to own 10% by law. I have to have 10% interest in the business for it to work. So I could charge Heather and Darren, like I said, $2,500, $3,000. I think the lowest I've heard recently was like $4,000 or so a month. But what happens is it's perfect if you're doing a lot of transactions. Now let me explain this though. This is where it gets into the situation. Darren and Heather want to do this. Well, here's what happens. If I open a separate LLC for them, they have to then do what? They have to buy their own insurance. They have to buy their signs. They have to buy their lock boxes, because none of the stuff that's with Nobles Realty will work with them. It's completely two separate. Even though I'm the broker, I don't have, my stuff will not convert to theirs. Okay? So they literally are starting the business. So what I tell people this all the time is this. is once you've drummed up a lot of business and you're closing almost, and this is what I always say is the best deal. If you're closing 5 transactions a month, then maybe we might want to look at something like that, because it might be cheaper that you just pay me $4,000 or $5,000 a month, and you're doing so many sales versus you paying me say $15,000 a month, pay me $4,000 or $5,000 a month. I end up, you're getting to keep 100-0 split, and here I am sitting over here just getting my payment for my license, if you see what I'm saying. But here's the thing, is when a broker does this, and this is why brokers don't like to do this much, if I do that, and I'm on the deal, and I end up, I sign that LLC, and Darren or Heather screw up something, who do they come back after? Me. So my liability is still through the roof. And here's the bad thing, is I have no interest really in the business, so I can't really get insurance on it. So that's where it puts me in huge jeopardy. Okay? That's why you only do those for experienced agents that know what they're doing. Okay? And that have the money, if something happens, to come back and they have backup. You know, they could fight a lawsuit. Okay? I wouldn't let Stephen or Travis right now do that right off the bat because they're still learning. That's too big of a lawsuit. But if Travis is doing 5 transactions a month and he's done his deal and he's doing great, and you know he's making a ton of money a year, maybe yeah, I might say, heck yeah, Travis, that's a good idea. But right now, it's never good if you're a new agent or you're not producing a lot. Okay, so again, broker, the designated broker is going to be liable for everything. Each associate licensee is going to be an agent and the fiduciary of the broker, which means they have to follow broker protocol. Now, the rules for salespersons and brokers associates are going to be a little different. Okay, the salesperson cannot lawfully sell services directly to the public. Agents make this mistake a lot of times, especially ones that are not watched. What happens is Mr. Cody gets his real estate license. He goes, hangs his license with some online broker, and he don't even meet the people. You just had a phone call and they sponsored you. Okay? And then they're like, okay, good luck, Cody. Cody's like, what do I do? I guess I'll go out there and start selling myself. So he just goes around, hi, my name's Cody Wilson. I sell real estate. I'm the owner of Cody Wilson Realty. What are you going to assume, Miss Linda, if he says he's the owner of Cody Wilson Realty? He's the broker, right? Are you the broker, Cody? No, your broker is, not you. So you cannot lawfully, and this is where it comes back to what we've been talking about before, expressed and implied. You cannot even imply you're the broker. If you imply you're the broker, you can lose your license. They must perform all tasks under the broker's supervision. They may not perform agency tasks in their own name. Used to, Travis, today, before all of the rule changes, Travis, you used to go out today and say, I'm the owner of T-Rex Realty. You can say that, okay? But then Trek came in and said it was too confusing. So now, Travis, you have to end your name with either group or team. And you have to make, that's where the logo has to be big enough for your broker so they can see who your broker is. Yes, Cody.
If that little example, like, you know, if I was doing that and I got someone reported me to Tracker, whoever, someone else claiming to be a broker,
yep.
And they like go after try to get my license,
yep.
Would they go after the online broker or whoever?
They're going to go after both of you. They're going to go after the broker for not supervising their agent, and they're going to go after you individually. Okay? And you will most likely lose your license. So you have to be very, very careful in that because you cannot act in that situation. Now, broker associate comes back to that situation, like I said earlier, that I christened Travis and Stephen here with their brokers. Well, they may do virtually anything that a principal broker can do if they're permitted contractually. Meaning that if Mr. Travis ends up, he becomes a real estate broker, I could technically let him do what he wants. I could kind of say, congratulations, Travis, stay on with me, man, and let's continue everything, but now you can make more decisions. And I could do that, okay? Now, Trek is not involved in any contractual agreements between the broker and the associate. Trek don't have time for that. Trek's not here to babysit, okay? So an independent contractor versus an employee. Again, the broker has an associated licenses, okay? Now the difference here in this situation is employees, there's income tax and Social Security must be withheld from wages, and they may receive employee benefits from the broker. An independent contractor must manage and pay their own income tax and Social Security, and cannot receive any employee benefits from the broker. And this is where, as a broker, I have to be very careful, because I do have my enrolled agent license, which is with the IRS, and there actually was a book I received about the real estate. I have to be very careful in the word benefits. See, I used to have a company car, and I'd let my agents use the company car. Well, guess what we found out? When I read the article, a benefit is utilizing a company car. Well, what's this last thing say here? Cannot receive any company benefits. Meaning that I cannot simply give a benefit to the people. Like I can't say, you know what, Travis, you're doing such a great job. Here's you a cell phone from the company to you because you're doing so many sales. I want to pay for your cell phone. Well, guess what? Because I did that, what happened, Miss Linda? I changed him from this to what? To an employee. And now I got to go back and pay him so many hours of salary and all, and taxes and all of that. I can't do it. So you have to be very careful in these situations.
Can I ask a question?
Yes, Miss Linda.
Okay, congratulations, Travis, to you on the T-Rex realty. Like for him wanting to break off.
He's not breaking off.
I know if he was breaking off, when he starts his T-Rex realty,
Yes.
that's what he's doing. He's working towards that.
He's starting what we call a team.
A team. So that team that he has, or he's creating, will, I don't really how to say it. Never mind, let me think on it.
Are you trying to worry that he's going to create it and then take advantage and get all the benefits? Is that what you're trying to say?
No,
What are you trying to say?
I gotta, how does the.
Go on and say it.
I'm not for sure how I wanna say it, that's why I'm
Just
saying.
say it. You're not
I
going
don't
to.
know exactly how I wanna say it. I think the words are jumbled in my mind right now.
Are you wondering about commission? Who gets that?
I don't know how that works either.
What's your question?
I don't know, keep going, listen. Keep going.
So what happens when you get old, Cody?
You gotta say
I will say, if you want to know anything about those groups of teams, you can honestly look at probably anybody who works at Keller Williams or anything like that.
That's what they
If you
do.
look at a business card they have, like I've done transactions with so many people that'll be like, agent Linda Noble's part of the Cody Wilson team.
Yep.
And then at the bottom it says Keller Williams.
Yep.
And it's like that.
Yeah, I
It's
saw
because they just
that.
made a team.
Yeah.
Within Keller Williams, but whoever started the team isn't necessarily a broker. They just
They're just
create their own thing.
they're
Yeah.
running their own show.
And that's kind of what I was wanting to do, is have a
Yeah.
Realty group team
Yeah,
or
it's a team.
group, but then
Like if
it's
I
still
wanted
under him,
to,
so.
I could, and I actually at one time was going to do this. I was actually going to go in and talk to every agent and be like, okay, Travis, what's your strengths? And Travis is like, I love buyers. Cody, what's your strength? I like sellers. Stefan, what's your strength? I like leases. Okay, well, y'all three are now going to be a team. Y'all come up with a name, and y'all are going to be a team within my firm. And then, okay, Miss Linda, what's your strengths? Mr. Eugene, Miss Davenport, okay, now y'all are a team. And what I was going to do is put them into little teams. And then what happened was they split their commissions. So if Travis closes a transaction, then they split it 3 ways. If Cody closes, they split it. And what happens is it makes it where it's fair for everybody. So everybody's putting into it. But for teams to work, everybody has to be okay, number one, with splitting commissions. And number two, you have to make certain that those people really want to work. It can't be like groups in high school where your teacher puts you in a group and one person does all the work and everybody else basically reaps the benefits. Can't do that.
So, I don't remember the other question, but all right, so you're talking about teams or whatever, so it's the team working amongst each other.
Yeah.
And they're all working in unity and all, but
For the
will they-
benefit of the team.
Yes, benefit of the team. Would there be one really that would be like overseeing
There
that?
can be. There could be something to the fate. So this happens a lot. This is where you see teams happening. Travis, he's been with me forever, and he's sold, he's been with me 2 years, and in his 2 years, he sold $10 million. He himself. Travis decides, you know what, Justin, I've got so much freaking work. I want to kind of bag off, get a little break. I want to start a team because I need help. Travis may structure his team like this. He may not split stuff. He may just say, you know what, Cody, Stephen, you're coming on my team, and because y'all agreed to, and then I'm just going to end up, I'm going to pay you hourly wage. You're going to be part of my team, but you're not getting commissions. I'm paying you straight hourly. And he can do that. So he's the head. He still does all of the connections, does all the stuff, and Cody and Stephen go do all the showings.
Well, what about all that paperwork and everything? Who's gonna oversee, make sure it's done?
Well,
right?
that's where he would have, if you're a team, that's his obligation to follow what the broker says. So he could have Elizabeth.
So I have
You
my
can-
wife do it.
He could have Elizabeth, yeah. He could say, Elizabeth, your job. So he would tell his people, he'd tell Cody and Stephen, okay, guys, I got a lot of business coming in. When y'all get stuff, you're going to give it to Elizabeth. And Elizabeth will be in connection with Miss Linda to make certain that everything is following broker protocol. And when you have a problem, Miss Linda, you don't call Travis or whatever. You talk to who he tells you, which would be Elizabeth, and you follow up with Elizabeth on stuff. And then if there's an issue, then you come to me and I would say, hey, Travis, we're missing blah, 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 blah. And he would take care of it.
And if I wanted to still give them like commission or whatever,
You could.
I could just have it where, if let's say we have an 80-20 split with Justin,
Mhm.
Justin gets 20, I get 10, the
The agent
person
gets the
selling
rest.
gets 70.
Yeah.
And so there's just an extra step of commission where I still get 10% commission off everybody else.
Yeah. And it happens a lot. It
Wow.
comes down to the individual person. Because there is one agent here in town that's what she does. She is the dog. Like, she's the lady in that company. And she tells everybody in the company, hey, I'm hiring. You're not getting commission. You're going to get paid hourly, but you got to have a real estate license. And so she pays them a flat, I think it's $10 or $15 an hour, but they have to handle all the showings, all the calls, all the paperwork, everything. They have to do everything that an agent would have to do anyway, but she's the one that goes out and meets with them. She's the person that's the face of the group. Happens all the time. It comes into how you want to structure it. And I'm spending a lot of time on that. I'm going to keep going because I'm running out of time. But again, brokers engage as associates as either, like we said, an employee or an independent contractor. Now, they may establish either. Now, I can, if I want to, I can say, Cody, you're going to come on as a employee. Stephen, you're going to be commissioned. Or I could end up establishing multiple options. I could say, okay, here's the options. Here are all the different ways. Now, which ones do y'all want to do? Okay.
Could you also do a salary versus
Yep.
commission?
I can do whatever I want. I just have to follow the law. Okay. Agreement should be written. Of course, it needs to be in writing. And the broker must maintain written policies and procedures to ensure that all associates have that written guidance. So even if Travis starts his own and Mr. Eugene, you start your own and Ms. Davenport starts their own, it's still under my brokerage, okay? It has to be across the board that everybody has to follow the same rules. I can't show favoritism to Mr. Eugene's group and Ms. Davenport's group, but not Travis's group. It has to be the same across the board. Now, an employee-employer relationship is where the broker exercises certain controls. I say, okay, Cody, you're an employee of mine. You need to be here 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. Monday through Friday. You'll be doing everything I tell you. You'll go sit here and do this and how this and when, why, who, what, when. I tell you everything. and you can't question it. Okay? So I have control over you. However, I have to withhold taxes, Social Security, and benefits. The compensation is going to be, and this is the key one, it's based off of time. So in that situation, it's going to be based off of time. Now, the independent contractor is where the broker controls what and not how. So I may end up saying, Ms. Davenport, I have a listing at 123 Main Street. I need you to take care of that for me. I need you to go show that person a property. Here you go. I can't tell Ms. Davenport how to do it. I just tell her what needs to be done. Okay? So all I do is I say, Ms. Davenport, Stephen wants to go see a house. Can you go help him? But I can't tell her how to do it, when to do it, or anything. I can't give her the directions, detail. That's up to her. The broker must not furnish normal employee benefits, like that car. I cannot furnish any type of benefits, okay? The contract should also specify the tax liability, what's the liability, and compensation is based upon the results. If Ms. Davenport sells 10 houses in her first month, well, Mr. Eugene, don't come in and argue to me and say, well, why is she getting a big check? Well, I'm sorry, you didn't want to work. She did. Okay? Sorry, not how this works. Okay? Now, yeah. Now, and also sales associate and broker associate compensation. Of course, it's established by mutual agreement between the broker and the associate, and typically the associate shares in the commission that's earned with the broker. Many compensation plans are available, and they should have many underlined, bolded, or capitalized, because there are a ton of them. Okay. I used to, when I first started real estate a long time ago, I used to have, I think, 7 different plans. Literally, you come into my office and I was like a gym, Cody. I'd be like, okay, you want this plan or this plan or this plan or this plan? Let me upsell you to this plan. Okay. I used to do that. And I used to have a graduated plan. After I had the multiple plans, then I went to a graduated plan. So it was after you sold 5 houses, it's 50-50. After you sold 5 houses, you moved to 60-40. You did 5 more. After 60-40, you went to 70-30. After that, you went up to 80-20. And then you got up to 90-10. Okay? And once you got to 90-10, then it reset every year. You drop back down to 50-50, you work your way back up every year. And then a lot of my agents were like, why am I dropping back down? I don't like this. I want to get up there and stay. So then I kind of went to a point where I said, you know what? This is what works. 5 at 50-50. After you've done 50-50, then I bump you to 80-20. And you get 80-20 until you pay me $15,000. You pay me $15,000 a year, and it's 100-0 the rest of the year. Then you start over again, except the 50-50 does not start over. You go back to 80-20 at the beginning of the year, and you cap again. Okay? But the key thing is there's many different compensation plans. Another thing is, we need to know the difference between licensed and non-licensed. A non-licensed person cannot be paid in commission. I cannot hire Ms. Davenport and say, Ms. Davenport, I'm going to pay you in commission by how much work you do. Can't do that. Okay? Because she can't sell. And she can't split in commission splits. So if I'm a real estate broker and I do a transaction and she does all the paperwork, I can't give Ms. Davenport a commission split of my stuff. I can give Ms. Davenport a bonus, but I cannot give her a split. So you got to know your difference between licensed and non-licensed.
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
In the Trek website,
Yes.
where it says name search, every licensed person is in that, correct?
That is 100% correct. Yes, ma'am.
Because I know someone who's selling homes, and I'm assuming she might be using a maiden name, but she wasn't in that Trek.
So here's what I'll tell you. You got to be very careful with Trek because I have some agents here in my office. They have their license, but they have 2 last names, or they, like you said, they may be using a maiden name. And if you don't put it exactly like it says, it will not pull up. So what happens is that you would want to put the last name, comma, space, first name, and it should normally pick her up. If it doesn't, then you would want to Google her, find one of her Facebook pages or her brokerage place, and end up in that situation. You should find her license number because she has to put her license number out there.
I know she has a YouTube video working for Beezer's Home.
And she's not out there, not on track.
I didn't see her.
Email me her name and I'll see if I can't find it after class for you.
Okay, thanks.
Anytime.
Is she in Texas?
That's right.
Wait, I have a question.
Is she in Texas?
Yes, Enrique.
I thought when you worked for what was that thing called?
A home builder?
That one. You have to suspend it?
No.
You don't have.
That is the home builder's choice.
Oh.
So you don't have to. I have plenty of friends that I know that work for home builders and they have a license. They don't require them to suspend it, but what they end up doing is they'll have a policy that says that they cannot practice while they are employed. So some people will end up suspending it just because they don't want to maintain it. But it really comes down to what that individual home builder wants you to do. And coming back to that question also, Ms. Leela, if that individual you're talking about is selling homes, but they are employed by a builder, they do not have to have a license.
Really?
So you can be working for a home builder and not be a licensed real estate agent. Because of the fact is you are not selling a resale home. You're selling a brand new product.
Okay.
I tried that. It's really hard to get one of those jobs, though.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Most home builders want to see a track record of like 4 to 5 years, and they want to see you selling a lot of properties. They're not going to hire just a normal person off of just getting their license. And sometimes, actually, like Enrique said, having your license can sometimes actually harm you in getting a job. Okay, if you're trying to get in with a home builder, because a home builder is scared that you're going to be trying to take the clients and go find them a house and cut them out of the transaction. So you got to be very careful how you tread that water when you're dealing with them.
Do they disclose something like that in an employment contract?
Oh yeah, they will. And I'll be honest with you. If you're dealing with a home builder, they're going to look your name up like what Miss Leela's doing on track to see if you got a license before you even go in and interview. Because they will tell you normally right then, Cody, I see your name, you're licensed, you're going to need to either cancel that or sign a waiver that you're not going to work while you're employed by me. So you got to be very careful with that.
I have another question. So I'm a mortgage processor.
Yes, sir.
Can I have my license at the same time?
Yes,
I didn't tell them
You didn't tell them?
that I'm getting my real estate license. No.
That's not a problem.
Okay.
I have my mortgage originator's license too.
Okay.
So it's not a problem. It's just, you just got to read your employment contract that you're with.
There's none.
Then you're
If
good.
it ends in the word license, Justin probably has it.
Yes, that's true.
I know that's no.
And Travis is trying to catch up with Justin, by the way.
If it ends in certificate or degree, I have it.
You don't
That's
even
right.
use half of them.
But license, Justin has it.
He probably uses 3 on 500.
He's got a book by himself.
Travis is my protege. Okay? He's following along.
I'm working.
So the next thing is consult, of course, a competent tax advisor. And that's not Stefan, I'm sorry. The tax advisor part. So, but no, the consult, especially if you're going to be dealing in the business, and the difference you need to know is, as a independent contractor, you're a business owner. Okay, most people, if you're older, you think to be a business owner, you have to have a brick and mortar place. You have to end up, you got to have a store front and all of this stuff. No, you don't. You actually can work from home. A lot of real estate agents, that's what they do. There is a brand new brokerage that came out that is EXP, and they don't have brick and mortar places. They're completely virtual. However, they charge their people, they do an 80-20 split, but they charge them a lot for all that technology, because that technology is not cheap.
I could work from home, but I just feel like I get more done when I'm up here.
Yep.
Same thing.
See, me, myself, I'm actually the opposite. I love to be at home because when I'm at home, I'm left alone. I can do a lot. But,
How am I gonna bug you?
well, it's Miss Linda you got to watch out for. That's what I'm saying. So,
But I have a question. When everybody needs some Miss Linda, where's Justin at?
if they ever ask where Justin is, just give them Enrique's phone number, and he'll find me. So,
I tell y'all, he's always going out to eat. That's where he's at.
but no, you do need to know a competent tax advisor, because of the fact is you got to know what you can and cannot deduct. Okay. Also, Trek does have, and Miss Linda, you might want to actually read through this one. Trek does have a Q&A that regards for the use of unlicensed assistants. So yes, Trek or Travis or Stephen could walk in tomorrow and say, you know what, Miss Linda, I want to use a unlicensed assistant. Say that Travis wanted to use Elizabeth to help him. There are certain requirements and rules of what Elizabeth can do. See, used to, and I hate it that they changed this, but used to, Travis, you could actually put Elizabeth at your house or at an open house for you. So you could go set her in an open house and she could just sit there for you while you went around and show properties. So you'd pull up an open house and she could sit there and generate leads for you, and she could do that. Nowadays, she can't do it anymore. Yeah. Also, Elizabeth used to go out and she could go and put lock boxes on and all of that stuff. She can, however, it cannot be implied that she's an agent.
Yeah.
So you'd have to put like a badge or something, or a shirt that says, non-agent or something like that. So it's clear that people know that she's not a real estate agent. So very key in that situation there. Now, of course, this is the list, very exhaustive list, and I'm not going through all of it, but this is the list of every type of relationship there is. Every type of the relationship between a broker, an agent, a sub-agent, this lists every single one of them. And you got to be able to know those differences. Okay? Now, this is one of the key things, however. You cannot, this is very, very important here, because I always get this question asked by a lot of people. So Cody gets his real estate license. And Cody goes out and he has his real estate license, and he's trying to drum up business in Mr. Eugene's neighborhood. And Mr. Eugene is a real estate agent too. And Mr. Eugene notices that Cody is walking around his neighborhood. And Mr. Eugene goes up to Miss Davenport and says, Miss Davenport, you don't want to hire him, hire me. I'm way better. Okay? Cody don't know what he's doing. I'm an older guy. I know more than he does. Okay? Yep. So Mr. Cody goes over there, and Mr. Cody says, no, I got more money than Mr. Eugene. Miss Davenport, I'll give you $500 if you use me.
I'll give you $1,000.
Well, every time you do it, he doubles it. Well, what happens here? Is that unfair advantage to him? Yeah, because he's got a lot more money. So what happened is there is a rule that you can no longer, used to you could get $50 in cash. You cannot give a non-licensed individual no more than $50 in value a gift. So Cody cannot go up to Miss Davenport and say, I'll give you $500. All he can do is give her something of value up to $50. He cannot give anything over, and it cannot be in cash. Cannot be in cash. You cannot walk up to Miss Davenport and say, for every lead you send to me, I'll give you $50 cash. You can't do that.
I think they asked that on the test.
Yes, they do.
I think I remember that.
Now, Miss Davenport, can Cody, though, give you a gift card for $50?
Yes.
Yes, he can. He can give a $50 gift card. Now, but here's the, and y'all hold on for a second. I want to ask them. Cody, can you give a $50 gift card to her of her choosing? Don't listen to him. Yes, you can. Yes, you can give her. You can talk to Miss Davenport and say, I'll give you $50. Where do you go all the time? Well, I shop on Amazon. Okay, here's your $50 gift card to Amazon. You can do that. But you cannot give her 50 cash. You see what I'm saying? Nor $50 in Venmo.
So neither would like one of those Visa gift cards.
You can give her that. You can give her that. That's not cash. A card is fine, but you cannot Venmo it where she can turn it into cash. Do you see what I'm saying?
Even though,
Sure. Even though she could turn around and do that, you can't do that amount. You see what I'm saying? Okay. Now, so now you can, however, share with the principal. Cody, you could go out if you're representing Travis, and Travis is needing $2,000 to close his loan. You can give him $2,000 out of your commission to Travis, because guess what? Travis is the principal. Okay. Unlicensed brokerage owners sharing income versus performing brokerage activities. There can be in certain situations. Like I said earlier, Mr. Eugene, Miss Linda, and myself are all on my brokerage. Okay. Although I am the lead person, I can share profits with my parents. Okay. However, they cannot be for services of performing brokerage activity. So if I happen to have a good year one year and I want to throw them $2,000 or something, I could. But if Travis did a transaction and made a ton of money, a boatload of money, and we made a nice chunk out of it, I can't say, hey, Mr. Eugene, here's your $5,000 because Travis made a big deal. Well, the problem is it's because of brokerage activities, you can't do that. You cannot end up. You got to be careful. Foreign brokers or brokers licensed in other states, they cannot physically conduct negotiations in Texas. You can refer out, but they cannot physically conduct negotiations. So the key points is that brokerage agreements, listing and buyer representation agreements are going to be the agreements with clients. Employment contracts are going to be between brokers and salespeople, and the salespeople perform in the broker's name. The IRS rules, basically in regards to independent contractor, is very strict, very strict. Other brokerages are also going to be sub-agents, and there is no compensation to unlicensed parties, except for those exceptions we talked about in trailer. For brokers, the document relationships with associates must be in a written employment contract. You have to follow the IRS guidelines regarding the independent contractor status, and the main written, or they must maintain a written policies and procedures manual. And so I want to kind of get through these pretty quick because we need to keep pushing forward. So I'm not going to question y'all tonight. Congratulations. But we're going to get through them pretty quick on these. So what effect does the doctrine of respondent superior have upon a sponsoring broker? Well, it's very important because it says that basically I, as the broker, am responsible for all of the actions in regards to my agents. I have to handle the matters. So the duty is on me. I'm liable for my agents. Discuss the differences between an employee and an independent contractor. As an employee, I have control over what you do. I tell you how to do it. Think of it as a dictator. I tell you what to do. As an independent contractor, we're more of a democracy. You do what you want at your own leisure so long as you don't violate any rules. Okay? You get the job done at your time, not at Justin's time. Okay? All right. So we're going to stop here for a second. Mr. Grossman, can you please